Top news for today, November 16, 2020. President Duterte orders quick government response for the victims of calamities. The Department of Budget and Management assures fund will be readily available for local government units. The NDRRMC warns against fake donation drives. And a culture of goodwill is said to play a vital role in saving lives in Catanduanes. Good day, I am Rom Dulfo. Welcome to PNA Newsroom. After communities in Cagayan Valley were hit hard by massive flooding brought by Typhoon Ulysses, rescue operations continue in the provinces of Cagayan and Isabela. A Philippine Coast Guard augmentation team from Ilocos Norte is in Cagayan to help in the search and rescue operations for trapped families in various flooded residential areas after the onslaught of Typhoon Ulysses. 2 residents who perished during the flood were recovered in Alcala, Cagayan, while more residents were rescued and evacuated. Cagayan province was placed under a state of calamity on Saturday as flood water level remains high due to Ulysses. Meanwhile, the military and police have mobilized more equipment for use in the ongoing disaster response efforts in Cagayan Valley. Philippine Air Force spokesperson Lieutenant Colonel Aristides Galang said a communications van and an air traffic controller are now deployed at the Cagayan provincial capital to expedite rescue operations. 2 helicopters are also deployed to help in transporting relief goods and other essential items to thousands of families affected by the typhoon. Meanwhile, the Philippine National Police has sent 11 rubber boats and 2 fiberglass rescue boats for rescue operations. It also dispatched 3 PNP ambulances with a complement of doctors and nurses, as well as 2 platoons of search and rescue personnel to assist in the operations in Cagayan Valley. The Philippine Navy is also working double time on rescue operations. Navy reservists and assets have been in the front lines and helping regular Navy units and other government agencies in evacuating and rescuing affected families. In Region 2 of Cagayan Valley, reservists from Northern Luzon have joined local government units in the conduct of search and rescue operations in affected communities, while others are also dispatched in Metro Manila to help in the distribution of relief goods. Meanwhile, Philippine Navy vessels BRP Pangasinan transported relief goods and vehicles from Cebu City intended for the victims of recent typhoons that struck the Bicol region. The Energy Department assures electricity will be restored in Cagayan as soon as flood subsides. According to Department of Energy Secretary Alfonso Cusi, power connection is expected to be restored in 2 days as soon as they complete the inspection and their water subsidies in the affected areas. Electricity is partly restored in areas served by Cagayan 1 Electric Cooperative or CAGELCO 1, which serves 386 barangays. Meanwhile, CAGELCO 2 says clearing operations are still underway to ensure the safety of everyone once power is restored. The local government of Cagayan, Isabela, and Aurora placed their provinces under a state of calamity due to the impact of Typhoon Ulysses. DOE says a price freeze shall be implemented for household liquefied petroleum gas and kerosene until November 27 for Isabela and until November 28 for Cagayan and Aurora, according to the DOE. Let us check on the situations in the provinces in this report.
In Surigao del Sur, FIVOLX warns of both damage and aftershocks after magnitude 6.4 earthquake struck the region this morning. Meanwhile, owners of water refilling station provide water ration to flood victims in neighboring Alcala, Cagayan province, one of which is owned by retired Philippine Army member Ronald Banyaga, who donated 1,600 liters of drinking water. Donations also poured in from public and private individuals. Boxes of relief goods arrived at the Ilocos Norte Capitol lobby this morning to be delivered to Cagayan. Meanwhile, the Department of Health in Bicol Region launched its supplemental immunization activity. Children who are 5 years and below received measles rubella vaccine and oral polio vaccine. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Chris Crismundo.
The Environment Department has received full backing from President Duterte to proceed with its plan to control flooding in Cagayan Valley. Among DENR's plan is removing the bottleneck in Magapit River in Cagayan that causes heavy flooding during typhoon season. Another DENR's plan is to dredge Cagayan River, which is now affected with heavy siltation. Under this initiative, the government will dredge some 30 kilometers from the mouth of Cagayan River going upstream. The DENR is also looking at implementing massive tree planting program to prevent flooding in the region with the help of local government units and the private sector. Meanwhile, President Duterte ordered Environment Secretary Roy Cematu to look into reports of illegal logging and mining in the province. He also asked Cematu to ensure that residents in flood-prone areas are relocated to higher grounds. President Duterte assured that the government will continue its rescue operations until all families are saved, all casualties and missing persons have been accounted for, and all affected individuals and communities have received their needed assistance and relief packs. President Duterte expressed support for a Bicol River basin which may help minimize incidences of flooding through improved storage capacity of rivers and lakes. This after Presidential Advisor for Bicol Affairs Marvel Clavicilla mentioned a Bicol River Basin project which was discontinued because of lack of funding and social impact to residents living in the area. Clavicilla said he will coordinate with the provincial government, Department of Public Roads and Highways or DPWH, and the Department of Environment and Natural Resources to rehabilitate the Bicol River Basin.
This is a good one. If you can construct a basin, you could have minimized the destruction. Kaya dapat i-pursue yan. I don't know if it would I'm about to make the exit. But if you can start, I'd be happy to help you there.
President Duterte directed national government agencies to fast-track relief and rehabilitation efforts so that communities devastated by recent calamities could get immediate government aid.
Matter of time. How long after I said, after this talk here, how long after can the funds be accessed by the local government? Bilisan lang ninyo. And of course, yung cabinet members, alam na nila yan.
The president flew to Cagayan to monitor the situation. He then proceeded to the provincial capital in Camarines Sur, where he presided over a situation briefing with the members of his cabinet and local government officials. He announced the creation of a task force with the goal of speeding up relief and rehabilitation initiatives in areas damaged by successive typhoons.
Sabi ng Presidente, this task force will be headed by the Executive Secretary with all the members of the Cabinet constituting its members. Since it is headed by no less than the Executive Secretary himself, inaasahan po natin na mas mabilis yung pagbibigay ng tulong sa ating mga kababayan.
Meanwhile, Malacanang calls on the Filipinos' spirit of bayanihan as the nation reels from the aftermath of Typhoon Ulysses.
Malinaw po ang mensahe na pinarating ng ating Presidente Rodrigo Roa Duterte dito sa mga taga-Cagayan. Hindi po niya kayo iiwan. Lahat po ng pangangailangan susubukan ibigay ng gobyerno at magbabayanihan po tayo. We will heal as one, we will recover as one. Magandang hapon.
The Budget Department has augmented the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council Fund by 10 billion pesos. This could now be tapped by national government agencies to replenish their respective Quick Response Funds or QRFs. Budget Assistant Secretary Kim Robert De Leon told President Duterte that there is enough money for government agencies to respond to recent typhoons that hit the country. De Leon said the DBM is now assessing the condition in Cagayan Valley so that it can provide additional local calamity fund in the provinces of Cagayan and Isabela. National agencies responding to calamities have allowable limits in their NDRRM funds. The Department of Agriculture has 1.5 billion pesos, Department of Health 600 million pesos, Department of Education 2.1 billion pesos, Office of Civil Defense or OCD 215 million pesos, Department of Public Works and Highways 1 billion pesos, Department of Social Welfare and Development 1.25 billion pesos, and National Electrification Administration 100 million pesos. De Leon assures that the DBM would quickly act on the requests for replenishment of their QRF. Still to come, NDRRMC warns of fake donation drives for typhoon victims, and the DILG reminds the local government units to follow health protocols during road clearing operations. More on these when the PNA Newsroom continues.
Alamin kung paano ang tamang pagsusuot ng surgical mask. Una, hawakan ang mask sa strap at siguruhing natatakpan nito ang inyong bibig at ilong. Tandaan, ang may kulay na bahagi ng mask ang dapat nasa labas. Ito lamang ang tamang paraan ng pagsuot nito. Ihulma ang nose piece o maliit na metallic strip ayon sa hugis ng inyong ilong. Iwasan ang paghawak sa inyong ilong at bibig. Kung marumi na ang mask, hubarin ito gamit ang strap at itapon ito sa isang basurahan. Siguruhin ang maayos na paghuhugas ng kamay gamit ang sabon at tubig. Ang surgical mask ay dapat gamitin ng mga pasyenteng may sakit sa baga o mga taong mayroong ubo, sipon at lagnat, mga nag-aalaga sa mga may sakit, at mga healthcare at frontline workers. Maaari ring magsuot nito kung kayo ay pupunta sa matataong lugar. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
The National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, or NDRRMC, warns the public against fake donation drives trying to cash in on the plight of the victims of Typhoon Ulysses. NDRRMC spokesperson Mark Timbal says unscrupulous individuals are taking advantage of the disaster to trick others out of their money through social media. The NDRRMC reacted to a viral post about a netizen who boasted about collecting 7,000 pesos in a fake donation drive and then using the amount for himself. Timbal said people can report fake donation drives to the NDRRMC donations hotline at 0917-827-5743. Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte warns the public against donating to fake accounts, allegedly using her name on behalf of victims of Super Typhoon Rolly and Typhoon Ulysses in Cagayan Valley. The mayor denied any connections with a GCash account named under a so-called Medellin Duterte. She also reiterated that she has no Facebook account. Mayor Duterte advised the public to help in reporting scammers and check thoroughly if an account asking for donations is legitimate. She said those who want to help typhoon victims may give their donations directly or coerce them through local government units and legitimate agencies. The Department of the Interior and Local Government, or DILG, reminds local government units affected by recent typhoons to follow health and safety protocols while conducting road clearing operations. Interior Secretary Eduardo Año said road clearing operations all over the country may now resume in 60 days after being stopped due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Areas under enhanced community quarantine and modified ECQ are still prohibited from conducting clearing operations. Those under modified GCQ can fully implement road clearing, while those under GCQ can only do partial implementation. Meanwhile, until the pandemic ends, ambulances and other public emergency vehicles are exempted from clearing operations, along with checkpoints manned by LGUs, the Interagency Task Force, police and military, and temporary bicycle lanes. The NBI is set to look into the killing of a Manila Regional Trial Court judge inside her office. Justice Chief Menardo Guevara on Friday ordered the NBI to conduct a parallel probe on the killing of Manila RTC Branch 45 Judge Maria Teresa Abadilla, which had been declared as solved by the police. He said the incident implies there are possible issues on the personal security of judges and justices. Meanwhile, Chief Justice Diosdado Peralta ordered a review of the existing security arrangements for judges to prevent similar incidents in the future. Investigators said Abadilla was shot by Clerk of Court Amador Rebato Jr. when the judge talked to him about his poor work performance. Rebato then killed himself with his own gun. Farmers in Butuan City learned about ways to improve their harvests in a forum on hybrid and inbred rice farming led by the Department of Agriculture. More on this from Jennifer Pena Gaetano.
The local government units of Caraga region have started determining the variety of hybrid and inbred rice suitable for planting in the different areas of the region. A 100 hectares of rice paddy was utilized as demo farm during the conduct of the 11th National Rice Technology Forum. 26 variety of hybrid and inbred rice were planted for farmers to know the best variety of grain that could also bring higher productivity.
Ato na siyang timbang-timbangon ug unsa ang mas maayo gyud sa inyohang ug asa mong luna ug asa mong dapita nga nagatanom og humay.
Joan Casison was grateful to have joined the forum where she was able to learn the techniques, appropriate variety, and technology she could use in her farm.
Mag-hybrid na gyud may ma'am kay nakita na ko ang pagtubo niya ma'am, ang bunga unsa kadaghan niya kanang lahi ra kaayo sa inbred gyud ma'am.
Meanwhile, Ebenezer Basco of the Rice Technology Productivity Incorporated also urged the farmers to produce hybrid rice and maximize the use of technology in farming.
Nandito ang ating lokal na pamahalaan, ang Department of Agriculture, ang mga stakeholders like mga private sectors para magtulong-tulong tayo na masolusyonan yung lahat ng hamon sa pag-agrikultura at makamit natin yung masaganang ani at mataas na kita.
For the PNA Newsroom, I am Jennifer Pena Gaetano of the Philippine Information Agency, Caraga.
In business, trade ministers from 15 nations signed the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, or RCEP, the world's largest free trade agreement, on Sunday. The RCEP was signed on the sidelines of the annual ASEAN Summit. Trade Chief Ramon Lopez announced on Saturday the upcoming signing of the deal. Early this year, the trade ministers from ASEAN and its free trade agreement partners, Australia, New Zealand, China, Japan, and South Korea, vowed to conclude the RCEP deal amid the pandemic. Lopez said RCEP countries account for more than 50% of the Philippines' export market, thus offering wider market opportunities for Filipino exporters and service providers. He described the RCEP as a more modern and high-quality agreement, as this includes our economic technical topics such as micro, small, and medium enterprises, or MSMEs, intellectual property, e-commerce, trade access, as well as investments. Up next, President Duterte thanks Australian government for its consistent support for the 2016 arbitral ruling on the West Philippine Sea. And a culture of goodwill is said to play a vital role in saving lives in Catanduanes. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders.
Alamin ang tamang paraan ng pag-ubo upang mapigilan ang paglaganap ng Coronavirus Disease 2019. Ugaliing magdala ng panyo o tissue. Kung uubo o babahing, takpan ang buong ilong at bibig gamit ang panyo o tissue. Kung walang dalang panyo o tissue, maaaring gamitin ang braso na pantakip. Kung nakararamdam na kailangan umubo o bumahing, agad na dumistansya sa mga tao sa paligid. Huwag dumura kung saan-saan, gumamit ng tissue at itapon sa basurahan. Ugaliin ang paghuhugas ng kamay at paggamit ng alcohol o hand sanitizer upang mamatay ang mikrobyo. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
President Duterte underscored the urgent need to address extreme poverty worsened by COVID-19 by accelerating the region's socio-economic recovery. At the second ASEAN-Australia Biennial Summit, President Duterte said both partners must find ways to reinvigorate trade and economic ties. To boost the region's recovery, the President said peace, security, and stability must also prevail to allow quick and sustainable recovery to take place. He cited the ASEAN-Australian-New Zealand Free Trade Agreement and the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, which could allow more buoyant bounce back to their economies. The President also extended his gratitude to Canberra for supporting the maternal and neonatal health services in the Philippines. Meanwhile, he asked his counterparts to prepare the region for future pandemics by building the capacity of each nation's health system through the ASEAN-Australia Health Security Partnership. President Duterte thanked the Australian government for its consistent support for the 2016 arbitral ruling, which invalidated China's vast claims in the South China Sea. President Duterte said this at the second ASEAN-Australia Biennial Summit, where he underscored the strategic importance of maintaining peace, security, and stability in the disputed waters. President Duterte likewise thanked Prime Minister Scott Morrison for his kind words at the 75th session of the UN General Assembly, where he brought forward the issue of the West Philippine Sea. He said Australia's manifestation before the UN Commission on the Limits of the Continental Shelf reinforces efforts to counter actions that contradict international law. The chief executive said the Philippines firmly rejects attempts to undermine the arbitral ruling. The famous Session Road in Baguio City was closed to vehicles on Sunday, November 15, to let people enjoy walking around the central business district. Food products from Mindanao, such as Davao pomelo, mangoes, and other seasonal fruit, as well as processed durian and beef products, were sold along Session Road. Stalls and the shops were also allowed to place dining tables and chairs in front of their establishments. Mayor Benjamin Magalong ordered the closure as the city forged an agreement in August with the Mindanao Development Authority, or MINDA, to open trade lines for agricultural products. This would allow people to enjoy a relaxing stroll along Session Road while buying items. The city government is also testing whether to make the pedestrianization of Session Road a regular habit every Sunday. The Bayanihan spirit has saved the lives of people in Catanduanes in times of deadly disasters. Governor Joseph Cua praised the culture of generosity and service among Catanduanos, especially during typhoons. He said families residing in concrete and sturdy houses offer shelter and food to their neighbors whose houses cannot withstand strong winds and heavy rains. He said this culture of extending a caring hand is why Catanduanes had very minimal, if not zero, fatalities or injured despite being constantly battered by typhoons. Cua hopes that this tradition of benevolence and taking care of neighbors would continue to the next generation. Super Typhoon Rolly whipped Catanduanes with gustiness of up to 310 kilometers per hour last November 1. Take one more look at today's biggest stories. President Duterte orders quick government response for the victims of calamities. The Department of Budget and Management assures fund will be readily available for local government units. The NDRRMC warns against fake donation drives. And a culture of goodwill is said to play a vital role in saving lives in Catanduanes. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. To check more news content, check our webpage or check the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government, how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags on all our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and attached agencies. Also watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know from PNA Newsroom. I am Rom Dufo. Good day and stay safe.